Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me for 10 Minute Tuesday. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. We are on part two of this recording because the first one did not save because I didn't know how to hit the right buttons. So on this one, I got my guy Nasheed on here. Nasheed, what's going on, man?
What's going on? Thanks
Hey.
for having me.
No problem, man. Thanks for hopping back on and getting the audio right this time. All right, so if you could, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people.
Absolutely. My name is Nasheed Sabree. I'm the VP of Data Science here at Roar Consulting based out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome, Nasheed. So, VP of data science, but you had to get your start somewhere. So, what really compelled you to get into data to begin with?
I think that's a great question. A lot of times when people think about data, they think, okay, you've come through like your traditional computer science, like IT type of degree. I studied sociology when I was an undergrad. And I think what that really unlocked for me was like a natural curiosity and then a drive to want to understand more about the underlying things that cause certain effects to happen in society. And I saw a natural through line or byline to data science and data analytics. And it started off with me working in the nonprofit sector. A lot of the work we were doing was really trying to tell stories of how to make change, how the changes that we've implemented have had impact. And a lot of that derived from telling stories with data. That naturally led me to understanding how to do some data engineering, how to present data storytelling outside of what we were traditionally doing, which was like PowerPoint slides and PDFs and things of that nature. So when I discovered Tableau, I thought it was like the coolest tool ever. So I started to explore that. And obviously, in order to make Tableau really do what you want it to do, you have to learn some additional skills. You have to really dive into SQL, Python, et cetera. So that began my journey. And it's funny because a lot of what I've done since then has really just built on top of that.
Yeah, it's crazy how those building blocks stack on each other. Like you learn one aspect of it. So it's like, how do I automate from going from PowerPoint to a data visualization tool like Tableau and get it to their audience? Right? How do I understand SQL? How do I connect to an API and get the data that I want? It's like it stacks upon each other and it's like full circle when you get on certain projects because you're like, oh yeah, I used this like 3 years ago. Let me pull it back in to what I'm working on
Absolutely.
now. So
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that, right? Because everybody's like, okay, nonprofit, like how does that connect? And the funniest thing is we were an education nonprofit. We did a ton of mapping using like ArcMap GIS, like an old GIS mapping software. I'm like, hey, we're doing all of these steps to get this to happen. Tableau, you can do it like that. So when you're trying to identify areas of opportunity for academic achievement or whatever, those things transfer directly into other spaces. From there, I moved into healthcare. But we're looking at the same type of mapping software, but we're trying to figure out where our best opportunity is to build a hospital. From there, I moved into home building. We're trying to figure out where the best place is to build houses. So it's like it actually connects in a nice way. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. And everything revolves around data. Now, what we're focused on might be a little different. We might be focused on children and education. We might be focused on our patient populations in healthcare. We were focused on the demographics we want to build for based on the income that can support this type of build in home building. But it's all looking at data, all looking at data points. So it's pretty cool.
yeah, it's really cool. And I think that's one of the things as either I evolved or talk to different people is like ultimately you're counting or you're summing or you're doing something by something. So whether it's to your example, counting kids for education or patient population or home builders and resources, it's like what's that thing that you're trying to move the needle on, and then it's transferable skills after that.
Absolutely.
So, all right. So, understanding your experience, right? You're VP now, and done a lot of stuff to get to that point. But along the way, I'm sure you had your own share of bumps and bruises. So, what would you consider your biggest failure, or quotation marks around failure, and what did you really learn from that experience?
Oh, I've had a number of them along the way. Everyone thinks that, success really, I mean, however you define it is a straight line, and it's not. Like I said, a lot of the things that I've learned, I was self-taught, right? I didn't have the traditional, background that people think about when it's like, I come from IT. So as I was navigating through my career, I took on a job and I inherited a bunch of Alteryx workflows. And if you're familiar with Alteryx, it's a lot going on. And I sold it. I was like, hey, I'm a avid learner. I'm a quick study. I'll learn it. And man, that was the toughest job I ever had. But it was the best job I ever had. Now, I say it's a failure in quotes because I was laid off from that job. I worked as hard as I could. I mean, I would get there super early, stay late. And I learned a lot. And everything since then has been easy. So I say yes, it's a failure, but it's actually made me a lot stronger. I went into my next job and I was exceptional. And it's like, okay, well, and really, I tell people this all the time. It's like what it taught me was one, with hard work and dedication and like like laser focus time, you can actually learn and accelerate the learning curve. You may not feel like it, but you actually are getting stronger. So I actually say that was the toughest job I had, but it was the best job I had as well.
Yeah, dude, man, that is so good and so like profound and wise because the journey to get to a point, you learn a lot. And especially in the foundational part of it aspect of things, it's like really grueling early on process to understand the intricacies, right? With Alter's workflow, or let's say it was a Tableau workbook, whatever, right? You took on something like extremely hard and it was so challenging, but it prepared you for like that next opportunity where it was kind of like, okay, this is lighter. Like,
Right? Like this is so easy. Everybody's like, how do you know how to this? Like it's like because I spent hours and hours
yeah,
like learning, not feeling like you're not making any progress, but it's like you sure are, but it doesn't happen overnight. It just won't. That's
yeah.
just not how things work.
For me, the so that's my process with certifications. Whenever I want to go for certification, I actually don't really care about the test. Like a passing grade is a passing grade, but it's that process of actually digging really deep and understanding the intricate things that I can actually apply to real world scenarios. That's the value piece for me, and I think that's the part of the journey, especially like say with Alteryx and understanding just that time frame of you're really diving deep and figuring it out, and how can you leverage it for the next thing.
Absolutely.
So all right, so understanding that biggest piece of failure. So what is one lesson that your job has taught you that you think everyone should learn at some point in their life?
I think don't be afraid of the challenge. I talk to people, who are early in their career and they're looking to make a move. Maybe they want to move up, take on more responsibility. But everyone is afraid of, being challenged to the point where they might potentially fail. Not everyone, but a lot of people, right? So they'll read job descriptions that ask them to know things that are beyond their comfort zone. And what did I say a little earlier? I took on something that was beyond my comfort zone. Maybe I was a little naive, maybe I was a little overconfident, but don't be afraid to challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to stretch your mental muscles a little bit so that you can actually grow. That's what it feels like. You always get to a point in your career where you feel comfortable. Don't settle for cruise control. It's like find something that can challenge you, learn a little bit more, look for the next challenge. That would be my advice.
Love that. I love that. That's really great advice, and it keeps the person motivated too, and humble. Right? If you feel like I know
Yep.
everything,
Yep.
then yeah. So it can get really real out here. All right.
It
So
does. It definitely does.
thinking about somebody who is just starting out in their career, what is one piece of advice you give someone who is just starting out in their career?
Ooh, I actually give people a lot of advice. It depends on what they want to accomplish. But if they're trying to grow in the data analytics space, right now, what I'm telling people to do is obviously master the fundamentals, but keep an eye on where the industry is going. Because when you focus too much on technology, you will get left behind. Because technology is changing so fast. So that's one of the things I tell people. I say approach it with a data mindset, but don't become too married to a specific tool. Like, for example, I mentioned Tableau early on, right? I love Tableau, but there was a situation one of our clients was using Power BI. Now I'm certified in Power BI. I apply the same principles. But what I say is when you have a mindset, you understand what these tools are supposed to accomplish and supposed to help you accomplish, you can become tool agnostic. And you can actually apply to what you mentioned earlier, those transferable skills to any situation, any scenario. And you can say, okay, think outside the box. This tool should allow you to do these things. Assume intelligent design. Assume that the people who designed the tool has some capabilities that are available to you and leverage those. and understand you're not limited just by those two because you mentioned APIs. There's all kinds of creative ways when you think broader that you can bring to bear for the benefit of whatever, whether it's your client, whether it's a product you're building, et cetera. As long as you bring a certain mindset, I think you'll be fine.
That's great, great, great advice. Definitely something I took away from like just listening to you is just the tool agnostic and the concepts and the problem solving and how can you bring all this stuff together to make it, solve the problem that you're trying to solve for. I think that's a fantastic open minded attitude to have.
Yep.
All right, so tell me about the most influential people in your life and how they made an impact on you.
Wow, there's so many. Um, right off the bat, my parents, I think they definitely have to be at the top of the list. They're both, educators, both math people. So I think that has made a huge difference in my life. And then also aunts and uncles, obviously grandparents as well, because they're educators also, but aunts and uncles primarily because my uncles introduced me to, software and hardware early on. So that was my intro to computers and computer science and just all of those things. So I think my family in general has really been influential in my life.
Awesome, awesome. That's great. Definitely the family influential educators. I come from a line of educators, so it doesn't matter the subject. It's all inherent. They teach you how to teach. Like it's like
Yep.
it's just part of it, a high standard and everything. And it's
always teaching you something.
Yeah,
everything is a lesson.
Exactly. everything, everything. All right, Nasheed, where can listeners find you at online?
Or they can find me at roarconsulting.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn under Nasheed Sabree, but at roarconsulting.com.
Perfect, perfect. Well, thank you so much. This was great and fantastic. Really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, like I said in the beginning, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to y'all next week. Y'all have a great day.